It is the We Are You Morning Crew. I am George Daigle, and you're in the right place to get the sizzling subjects and the trending topics. Ladies and gentlemen, now you've been hearing the Mishigosh all over the interwebs. Monique versus DL. Bing, bing. Yes, they are in the ring, going round for round, tweet for tweet, Instagram for Instagram, slay for slay. Now, this all started a few days ago when Monique was supposed to when Monique did show up in Detroit at the Fox Theater for a date that she had already had arranged. Now, there's a lot of timelines and receipts that have been passed along and pushed, but there's one gentleman who I've been following, and I think he's somewhat of an authority because he has been like, okay, here's a receipt, here's another receipt, y'all think she playing? She not playing with y'all. So I decided to bring him on board to talk about this whole situation. And ladies and gentlemen, you may know him from Instagram as the TheRealBrant. Brant is what some people call him. So I call him Brant this morning. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Man, I'm telling you, you were on it because you were like, check bait. We not playing with you, DL. We not playing with you.
Check motherfucking mate.
Exactly.
Check motherfucking mate. That's how he was.
So now let's talk about the entire situation. Let's start from the beginning, bring our audience up to speed who may or may not know what's been going on, and tell it from your perspective.
I'm going to tell it from my perspective that I have seen every interview, every podcast that Monique has been on, and her story has never changed when it came down to Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and Lee Daniels, and even mostly Netflix and the Steve Harvey situation as well. And so a lot of the things start to connect to each other. So we kind of make sense. Now let's fast forward. We see that Lee Daniels apologized after the interview with T.S. Madison. And so now here we are with D.L. Hugley. Now, keep in mind, if we go back in Google and YouTube and all the things that D.L. Hugley said about Monique, he wasn't too favorable of Monique. So now here we are.
Go into some of what he said, because I want the audience to get as good a perspective as possible. So are there some of the interviews or some of the things that he said that you can quote?
I would say that there were some things that D.L. Hugley said that he doesn't feel that Monique is not worth the amount of money that she needs for the Netflix deal. Mm-hmm. So you can look it up in Google and all of those things. Those are the things that he was saying in reference. I'm not going to say word by word because I don't know I can't remember verbatim, but what I do know, it was the context that he was giving. Excuse me, and no COVID. But I want to say that now we fast forward. Now we're going to the Fox Theater. Now we have to look at the receipt very carefully because I'm a secretary by trade. So according to the receipt that D.L. Hugley posted with a deal memo. So basically, it's a memorandum. It's not a contract. Some people have to let me know that it was confirmed by this agency confirming it. Mm-hmm. But it was done on March the 28th, signed. According to Monique's performance agreement, it was signed on the 28th of March. His 29th, hers 28th. So whoever acquired the business first should go as what the business has been agreed upon. So we all know in the entertainment business, there is always a behind the scene, behind the contract. No one don't want to talk about it, but that's what those things are going. Now, I'm going to have to say allegedly because I wasn't there. Correct. But this is my thought process. I believe that D.L. Hugley wanted to honor his contract because he believed that he was supposed to close the show out, same as what Monique felt. But we got to also look at the date who acquired the business first, Monique. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, she's upset that the management, the promoters are not owning up to the contract she signed. But because D.L. Hugley got what he wanted that night, he's trying to make it seem like, oh, he's a problem now, a part of the list of Tyler, Oprah, and Lee, and Steve, and Netflix. So
Correct.
you're trying to perpetuate a narrative that has nothing to do with you. Now you want to be a part of that list.
Let's stop there for a second because, as you pointed out, the business was acquired by Monique first. However, in the greater scheme of things, DL and Monique, their management, had the contract signed. What I found a little bit bizarre to me was in between the two, well, between all of the entities, the management and both the talents, there was a promoter. And the promoter was the person who dropped the ball, who we haven't seen DL's contract yet, but I'm assuming that DL probably had the same contract that Monique said that he was a headliner. And assumedly that's how he moved forward. We're assuming because we now have not seen his receipt yet. We only saw the memorandum. Right. But moving forward,
your contract, DL.
We're waiting on that. But here's the thing. I think that Monique's argument contest was with the promoter, not DL specifically. So I was a little bit lost, as a lot of people were, as to, okay, you're going off on DL. How was he personally responsible? So speak to that a little bit, and maybe some of what you've investigated and found.
Behind the scenes, that she wouldn't have went off the way she did had it had went down behind the scenes. Some things had went down behind the scenes that we are not privy to. But we all know, historically, of the time being since she's been blackballed, we know some behind the scenes are making to try to make it difficult for her. See, here's the thing. D.L. Hughley, historically, we got to go back in time. He wasn't in favor of her, of the Netflix deal. So why would you not be supporting a Black woman when her business was acquired first? And why could you not let her close out? You were so big and high and mighty and selfish enough not to let her close out. You could have just said, oh, let me sue, because they acquired the business first for her. He could have walked out and said, oh, I'm going to sue the promoter.
Right.
Not Monique. But now he got what he wanted. And
so he's turning the story around to his advantage.
That's why she's going off on DL, because she's not allowing her to honor her contract and allowing that contract to be honored, because he's going behind the scenes telling the promoters, if I'm not closing out, I ain't showing up.
Right.
So, of course, the promoter has to play last minute. But if you take a look at her receipts with the original schedule, was that she was supposed to be closing out. And when you're looking at DL's receipt, he was supposed to be closing out. So really, technically, DL should have been on her side from day one, instead of being so selfish enough to say, hey, let's come together. Let's see how we can make this work.
Correct.
But that did not happen.
Right.
Because DL wants to be, I believe DL was being selfish. Now here he goes, pick a store, talking about her past issues with Oprah, Lee, Tyler. Now, everybody is the problem. That's not the case. That was a situation.
And let's talk to that, because, he did bring up Charlamagne the God and Tyler and Steve and everyone else that she has named. One thing that my co-host and I said, as we talked about the segment on yesterday, that one thing that you cannot say is that Monique is a liar. Because here it is, when Lee Daniels came along and apologized, he never refuted any of the allegations that she made against Tyler or Oprah or himself. He never said none of it was true. He never said, this is what really happened. He didn't try to give his own narrative. He just said, we're sorry, meaning that there was some fault on those parties, and I'm aware of it, and I'm apologizing to you. So one thing that you cannot say is that this woman is a liar. Now, you can bring up those issues, but when she told her story and the truth came out, here it is.
Right. And you got to keep in mind that Lee Daniels was the first person that started the blackball rumor. And it was Tyler and Oprah that supported what Lee said. And even behind the scenes, the phone calls, that's why Tyler got recorded.
Right.
Because Tyler was privately apologizing and he know he was not wrong, she was not wrong, and all the other stuff. So, I mean, it was wrong for her to record him without his knowledge, but she had to find a way to clear her name. Here's the issue with Black folks. If we're going to stick together, we need to stick together for real. And we need to make sure if our sister is down and they're lying on our sister, we need to hold somebody accountable and say, hey, this sister's telling the truth. And these big entities such as Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey, Black individuals, decided not to step up. And we all know that Oprah is never going to apologize because she's too big and mighty Heidi, so she's not going to do it. She over here worried about her edges, and God's going to take care of that.
Well, now, we're going to have to go to break in just a few minutes, but I do want to say, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, we're speaking to TheRealBrant. He is the owner of Laughing to Death. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But before we go, I want to kind of wrap this segment up a little bit. We'll come back to it a little bit later. But one thing that many people said that were in the audience that were privy to the actual full-length diatribe that she threw out there, that she spewed out there, a lot of people were like, yeah, Monique, you might have a problem and you may have a point and it may be valid, but why do it in this way? And the reason, first of all, I am Team Monique all day long, right or wrong. This woman has worked her butt off. She has come to the place that she has on her own volition, her own talent, her own back, her own sweat. I love Monique and I want to see her win. So I just want to say that on the record. But there are a lot of people who believe that now it becomes easy for people to say, see, she is the angry Black woman. See, she is hard to get along. See, this is what they were talking about. And this is what I hate for her as a Black woman. It also, the other part of that, quickly, is that because her husband is also her manager, it is very hard for him to say, okay, client, you can't do this. Because on the other side, he got to say, baby, I support you. So he's in a precarious situation when it comes to things like this, because how do you, as the manager, say, yeah, my client was wrong, but that's my wife. So, you know what I mean? So let's talk about that just really quickly before we go to break.
I really respect Mr. Hicks on the way how he is fighting for his wife, not only fighting for his wife, fighting for the income that need to be able to take care of their family. I understand the dichotomy. He is the husband, and more so, she is her manager. But we have to understand when it comes down to those negotiation deals, I believe they're giving Monique a hard time because the negotiation deal that they have at the table, because he's asking the right question. And those questions don't want to be answered when you're dealing with the big entities such as the network, such as Netflix. When you ask the right question, it gets them scared. So, of course, we got to have a big Black man to support his wife. I'm going to normalize Black husband supporting his wife and not only being a Black husband and a manager to support his wife's career. This is a family business, so we have to respect it as such. So when we have Black entities such as Lee, Daniels, and Tyler, and Oprah giving hard time and going, I believe behind the scenes, Netflix is having those conversations with them. I believe it, I believe that's what it's. We got to connect the dots. Monique is not just telling y'all what's going on. She's just telling y'all this is the industry. This is what we deal with. And so when it comes down to her husband, that Black man is supporting his wife and his client to the best of his ability, and she got the best attorney. We're talking about his name is Ricky Anderson.
Y'all. Ricky Anderson, okay.
Ricky Anderson is a top attorney. So they good. They good.
Good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we would love to know what you think about this story and all the stories we talk about today. You know, everybody's going to be talking about that. And as we continue to look at the drama, because it's not over. It's not over.
It's not going to be over until the Black folks in the business say, okay, Monique is right, and we need to treat our Black women a little better than what we're used to. Because it's 2022. No one is going to continue with this BS. It's just not, it's unacceptable, especially when we're dealing with the business in the parameters of a white entity, in the parameter of white supremacy, in the parameters of that policy that was made by white men. I'm just keeping it 100. Yes, so we have to keep it real. Keep it all the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in just a few moments. You are listening to the We Are You Morning Crew. I am George Daigle. Good morning.
I'm your girl, Miss Sophia, holding it down right here on WERUradio. Home of every music for the LGBTQI community and me. Between the hours of 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., this is Club Chit Chat. That's right. You know how we do it, honey. We're going to be talking about sports, politics, entertainment, and a little of this and a little of that. That's why we call this Club Chit Chat, baby. With a happy hour coming to you at 5 p.m. like no other happy hour you've ever experienced. So make sure you're around during our happy hour. Hey, I'm your girl, Miss Sophia, holding it down right here on WERUradio, home of urban music for the LGBTQI community and me. Come on, baby, let's ride.
The We Are You Morning Crew. I am George Daigle. Oh, yes, you're in the right place to get the sizzling subjects and the trending topics. If you're just tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, I have the CEO of Laughing to Death, TheRealBrant. You can call him Brant if you his friend. I don't know if you're not his friend. I don't know what he wants you to call him, but I'm calling him Brant today. So let's talk about Laughing to Death. And one of the things in the LGBTQ community, I have noticed there's not a lot of representation of the disabled. And help me with that term if I'm using the right term, because I know there's a better way to say it. But in my absence of that knowledge, the disabled in the LGBTQ community is not well represented. Talk about that as a part of the LGBT community and how you have been able to mitigate.
Well, I have, it's a blessing from God to go through the life that I'm going through. I am not only an owner of the Laughing to Death, not death. We ain't finna die, okay? We're gonna laugh to death. I just want to say that my disability is to let other people know that there are people that are hearing impaired that can do exactly what normal folks can do. And so I don't see enough of my people like me being the forefront on TV screen, on social media, making jokes about their own disability or even their sexuality or any of the life experiences, or even talking about entertainment news or whatnot. I believe that being a hearing impaired person, I want to push the narrative that we can do something. I remember when I was a kid that I would put it in the box. In elementary school, they said that I couldn't read at first grade. I was already on a second grade reader level at first grade. And when I read to an entire class, the teacher was like, oh my God. And she had to apologize to my mother for saying that I couldn't read. I'm gifted in relifting. And when it falls into my business, I remember that my motto was, I'm gonna make people smile or laugh one person at a time. Now we got probably hundreds of people are watching my content on a day in and day out. I have been my videos have been reposted by K Michelle, and that got up to 100,000 some views. Right now she archived them, but it's okay. We have a whole nother videos that we can get other people to watch. I'm on TikTok and all of that. It's about seeing someone that is comical enough to talk about the disability, to talk about the challenges, and it also gives skits of how normal people treat those of hard of hearing. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. What are some of the challenges? Because, as I become more aware of my community, and there's so many subsets in our community, as I become more aware of it, I'm like, wow, I never knew. Wow, I didn't think about. Wow, how is this working for them? So tell me about some of the challenges just on a day to day and some of the ways you find humor in the challenges.
What's really, it could be sad for anybody, but I take a humor in this. I remember going on a date with someone and he was just shocked that I'm deaf. I didn't know you were deaf. I'm like, am I supposed to tell you that I'm deaf? Like, okay. Like, I ain't got no disease or whatever. I'm like, am I supposed to tell you something? Like, what is I supposed to tell you?
Right.
And so he said, I don't date people with disability. And I was like flabbergasted. I've had days where they were so freaking shallow. And then when they saw the greatness of the things that I was doing on my own, like getting a degree, owning my businesses, and then they could come back in my DM and be like, hey, can we make this work? And I'll be like, pieces, I don't want your ass.
Right. In the spirit of transparency, years ago, I'm telling my business right about now. So years ago, I was living in Nashville, Tennessee. And, I'm an equal opportunity, lover. I'm married now. But back in the day, I didn't have a problem. So I dated this deaf guy, the black deaf guy in Nashville. And at the time I was dating him, when you would make phone calls, you had to have the third party operator interpret everything you were saying. So when we would get to the lovey-dovey part, it would be super awkward because, I know that there's somebody listening to my conversation. So when I'm making the date, you coming over my house, blah, 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 blah. Oh, my God, it was hilarious. But
you were having a threesome, man. You were having a threesome. It was a threesome in the making.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And you could tell the operator was like, yeah, so she would say it, but it was hilarious back in the day. So is that still a challenge? I mean, now for you? Because you read lips pretty well, right?
Yes, I do. I remember when I was a kid in church and somebody's parent would try to tell their child to be still to act up. And then I would be the messenger because I read lips so well from afar. And I would say, your mama said you need to calm down. And they be mad at me because they don't even want to hear what their mama daddy said. Yeah, man. That's how good my read lips is.
Well, you know what? I will know when I start whispering, I'm going to start doing like this when you're around. I'm just going to say it.
I hate that with a passion. I hate it. My friends would do that to me all the time. And I'll be like, y'all are going to hell. Y'all
that is so rude. So rude.
Nasty and so rude.
How can people access your entertainment and access your Laughing to Death and your organization and just get to know TheRealBrant just a little bit better? Tell us how we can do that.
You can follow me on Instagram, TheRealBrant, where most of my content is there. I have been selecting on my Laughing to Death Instagram, so it's been neglected. So you can find me on the Laughing to Death LLC on the Instagram, and you can also find me on TheRealBrant TikTok. So I'm very heavily over there, and I need some followers over there. Help me!
Well, it has been a pleasure having you on. You are hilarious, and I want to extend the invitation. If ever you want to sit here at the table here in the studio with us and be a part of the show, you are more than welcome. I really want you to be a part of that and continued success. And when you get some more juice on Monique, holla at your boy, okay?
Got you. I'm part of the wine nose. I don't do tea, I do wine with Tasha K.
Oh, good. That's another sister. We need to talk about her. That's another show altogether.
I love her. Me too. I have been on her interactive show probably 3 times, and she had been godsend. I've been in communication with her. She, ever since I met her on the Clubhouse, she had been nothing but sweet to me. So it's been godsend.
Well, good. Ladies and gentlemen, TheRealBrant. Follow him on Instagram. Follow him on the TikTok. That's what the old people say. On the TikTok. and give him some
All
flowers
right.
and just enjoy that humor. Thank you so much again. This is the We Are Your Morning Crew. I am George Daigle. Get ready. We've got more sizzling subjects and trending topics. Happy Pride, y'all. Good morning.
Download the WERUradio app.
Turn it up loud.
Use the shout-out feature to talk directly to your favorite station. It's available on your app store. Search WERU Radio, one word, today.